everybody. June 22nd, 2018, 2:21 a.m. Alright, before we get into Texas here, I want to show you something in the Pacific Ocean. Definitely needs to be talked about. We have two invest areas in the Pacific Ocean right now. Both have low percentage chance of formation over the next 48 hours. But after 48 hours is a whole nother story. So we're going to take a look at this. We're going to look at the GFS, we're going to look at the Canadian model, and then we're going to look at the Europeans, all showing some pretty dramatic stuff going on in the Pacific Ocean in the coming days leading up to and through 4th of July. So here's the GFS, June 27th. We'll back up to current time, actually 22nd. We have two low pressure systems, but we're not even looking at those. These are the two that are actually being picked up by the invest areas. So now as we move forward, those are going to come and go. It's what happens after that. So one of these two could possibly form, maybe the second, could be the first, we're not sure. But once again, that is not what we're really looking at here. What we want to look at is what's coming after that. Here is the 29th going into the 1st of July. Now you see one storm pop up, drops to a 973, and then right behind it, it looks like it comes right off the land, 989, and then watch this, guys, from the 1st to the 4th, which is a 3-day period, this thing quadruples in size and dips down into the 950s in pressure. Again, this is the GFS. Look at the size of that storm. That is a massive storm, one of the biggest ones I've seen on Ventusky. You usually see them in a way like this, but pretty rare to see a storm reach this size as far as a hurricane goes. Now, like I said, we have the Canadian model pulled up here. You can see this begins around June 25th for the Canadian models. They show the two low pressures here in the Pacific Ocean, and then as we move to the 28th and 29th, boom, same exact thing happens. We have a blow up of this storm and another storm behind it. So the GFS is showing the second of these two storms being the significant one right here, and the Canadian model is actually showing the same thing. Well, actually, it's hard to tell that because we can't see how low the pressure drops, but we do have two significant storms here matched up by the GFS and the Canadian model. And now finally the Europeans, this is the last frame I could get, also do recognize both of these as becoming storms leading up to the 1st. That is the last frame I can get here for now. The Europeans have some low pressures popping in and out of the area, but once we get into the 26th, 27th, and 28th, that is when things could get pretty interesting in the Pacific Ocean. And that's not to mention all the waves that are still making their way from the west coast of Africa, which is obviously over here, and this comes down in this direction, and soon enough we will be seeing most, if not all, our storms coming from this area and then following that warm water belt up into the US. So now let's take a look really quick at Ventusky, and we could actually match this up perfectly with them as well. They show both of these storms, if not all three. Here's the 22nd, 23rd, this would be tomorrow, and by the 24th we have two areas of significant rotation. Now we get into the 25th, 26th, 27th, and we have almost a full-blown hurricane by the 27th. The 28th will show that second storm beginning to form. Now, if you remember, in the GFS and the CMC, the second of the two are the ones that show the formation becoming pretty significant, and that also goes for Ventusky. As you can see, this one makes its way farther into the Pacific. It kind of begins to weaken, but that second one of those storms, very close to land, very strong, and then also showing a third. We actually have another day now. We can go to Sunday the 1st, and there you have it, 3 storms in a row in the Pacific Ocean, all by July 1st, which is about 9-10 days away. So we're within that 10-day threshold. Certainly an area to watch, and also this area of the Caribbean, because we have that constant flow now of warm moisture and the airflow moving down into the southern Caribbean and then up into the Gulf, which is the exact reason why places like Texas got hit so hard. And with that said, we're going to get right into Texas now, because look at some of these numbers, guys. Crazy amounts of rainfall in Texas in the past 72 hours. We are continuing to talk about the Texas crazy super 72-hour storm we just had. That was not a hurricane nor a cyclone, was basically a tropical wave, And perfect example to explain to people how we don't need hurricanes or tropical storms to cause damage or have very bad situations, areas that are close to the ocean. You're looking at totals, rain totals. This is actually 5 or 6 hours old now. I know for a fact Corpus Christi had a higher reading than this. This is almost 21 inches of rain, guys, in 72 hours. That is a lot. And the reason for that, we watched this and talked about it today actually, is we had this central low pressure system in the middle of the country, which was being fueled from Canada and being fueled from the Gulf and the Pacific Ocean, and it was centered right over the middle of the US, so moisture being pulled down and moisture being pulled up, and Texas happened to be right in that area where this thing sat for 3 days, just pulling up that warm Gulf air and the moisture along with it, just dragging it over the same exact areas for hours and hours and hours and days and days and days, and finally some relief just after state of emergency was declared in about 6 counties, I think, in Texas. So hopefully these warm temperatures that are already being shown as early as 12:30 this morning, that's Eastern Standard Time, will begin to dry up some of this water. I believe the state of emergency will be lifted around 5 a.m. and the new area to watch obviously will be an area to the east of Texas. So now we're looking at the northern areas of Louisiana, we have Mississippi, Alabama, we have Atlanta, Georgia in there, and then eventually that will move up into Nashville. Now these are areas that could be at risk for tornadoes and high rain rates. This is exactly what Texas just dealt with. Not so much the tornado part of it, but definitely the flooding, the damaging winds, and those isolated very spotty storms. As you can see as we move back and forth here on this radar, these dark, whenever you see that black, that is a lot of moisture. So we had a lot of storms going off around this area. The Corpus Christi area is what really got hit the hardest, and we can see that according to, if I could find it, too many tabs pulled up today. Let's see, here we go. We got Corpus Christi right here. This is the Gulf Coast here of Texas. We got McAllen down here. Look at some of these colors, guys. 12 to 15 inches of rain in the past 72 hours. Some of these colors are even those light pinks, 15 to 20, and then there are areas in there that were between 20 and 25 inches. Some of these areas may even read as much as 2 feet of rain. So just think about that for a second. 2 feet of rain without a hurricane. That is a pretty significant situation, and remember Harvey. Harvey was a August hurricane from last year that brought about 60 inches of rain. So you do not need hurricanes to cause flooding to the point where there's state of emergency declared. Now you could see here that this is beginning to wrap around, and now it is moving west to east towards the east coast. Now the reason that areas like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia are now in that area to watch is because of how that airflow is being pulled up, and that puts these areas at risk for tornadoes. That's why we call it Tornado Alley or Tornado Valley. Okay, with that said about Texas, we still have some areas to watch for flooding, but for the most part, the worst is over there as far as additional rainfall, at least for now. Probably about a week before we see another decent rainfall in Texas, but you could start to see the flash flood areas now are in the north and the northeast areas. And with that, I'll leave you with the first sunset of the 2018 summer season. I took this. Actually, my girlfriend took this one. I'm sorry. She took this and then sent it to me. I touched it up a little bit. Great picture for sunset of the summer. And then we also got our moon, the first moon of the summer solstice. So that's what we got for today, guys. If I can get a video out this afternoon, I absolutely will. If not, then tomorrow morning, once again, we will talk more about those storms coming out of the Pacific Ocean, as well as more of what's going on in the Caribbean and why all that moisture came up into Texas and whatever else hits news. Obviously, we are going to talk about that Japan earthquake as well. Pretty fishy stuff going on with that as well. Should be pretty interesting. But anyway, I hope everyone has a great day. Have a great morning. Sorry I had to be quiet this morning, but I will talk to you all later this afternoon or tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye-bye.